All right. We're excited for you guys to listen to this show, to this episode. We talked a lot. We had Gavin on. He gave us his story. And then we also talked about, we answered the question, has God disappointed you? Or you think he has disappointed you? Because he hasn't disappointed anyone. But if you've been hurt by God, or you think you've been hurt by God for not doing what you wanted him to do for you, then you should listen to this one. If you've had a mountaintop experience or you haven't had one, you should also listen to this one because we share our own stories and our own topics and our own mountaintop experiences. And we hope you guys like this one. Enjoy. Thank you.
Welcome to the Campfire Podcast.
All right. Oh, goodness, guys. We're back. Doing what we love the most. This is our day job now. No, night job. We're recording this at night. Welcome to the Campfire Podcast. I'm your host, Feston, with my 4 co-hosts. And we're excited to talk about today's topics. But more importantly, we have exciting news to tell you guys that we got 250 downloads on our whole podcast. And that's huge for us. But for today's episode, we have a big guest that we have honored to be our first guest to the show. His name is Gavin. He's going to introduce himself, and then we'll get into the podcast, into the episode, and then he will share his story at the end. And then, we're excited for you guys to hear the story, and we hope you get inspired and your faith grows more, and you trust in God more that He can do things that we never thought He can do. Let's get into today's episode. Cue Gavin.
Hi, I'm Gavin Richardson. I am 16 years old. I work construction with our other co-host, Andrew, and his brother and dad. I'm a Christian as of last November. So we're talking about that some tonight. It's pretty much me.
All right. Thank you for joining us, and we're happy to tell your story. But before we get to telling your story, we have some things that Riley wants to talk about, and we're excited to join him and talk about this topic. So the question, I think the question should be, should you be disappointed if God does not meet your expectation? What do you do if you pray for something and God does not give it to you? Or you pray for the job and God does not give it to you? Or you prayed for something and God gave you something else. What do you do? So we're gonna dive into that, and we're gonna talk about mountaintop experiences. And I think each one of us has had one of those, and we're gonna talk about those moments where we were close to God, and God really transformed our views on something or our whole life. But then most important is that we have that experience with God and what that looks like. So I'll let Riley take over for a minute because he's dying to just talk about this topic. So I'll let him take over for a minute, and then we'll chime in and talk about all our experiences and his experiences and what that looks like, and what do you do, or what happens, how do you feel when God says, well, I know you want that car, that job, I know you want that wife. We're all single here. I know you want that wife, but maybe.
But what did Levi say tonight?
I don't know.
For man to be alone.
Yeah.
It's not good for man to be alone. But what? So things like that, we're gonna talk about those kind of things where you want something so bad and God does not give it to you. What does that look like? How do you feel? And what's the right response to that? So, Riley, please take over and do your thing.
Yeah, that's a really good question that all of us have really thought about. That when we pray for something, when we want something so bad, that God doesn't bring it to pass. And I've heard pastors say that the purpose of prayer isn't for us to change God's mind, but it's for God to change our minds and our heart's desire. In Isaiah 55, 8-9, it says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways, says the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." So when we go into prayer, it's really important to go in with the attitude that God knows what is best, and that we can put all of our faith in him, that no matter what happens, no matter the circumstance, no matter how hard it is, that he truly does know what's best for us. And through that, when we learn how to cope with things not going our way while trusting in God, I really think that's when God can grow our faith so much. Like when everything's not going our way, that God, we can see how good God is, like through it, like through our life, kind of looking back. It's hard in the moment. It really comes with just a simple faith in Jesus.
Well said.
Yeah, so like I think moments like those, then I think what's the best response to, let's say you really wanted the job, right? You prayed for it. You spent day and night praying for something and God does not give it to you like the way you want. So let's just say God does not give it to you. And I was reading something and said like this is like what the prosperity gospel is all about. It's like God is all like he's all powerful, all knowing. There's nothing he cannot do. Like he can do whatever you want him to do. Like he's here to bless you and to do all these things for you. So what's stopping from doing that? And I think like the guy said, God is not like he's gonna do what he wants. It's not about you. Just because he's all knowing, he has all the power, he's all loving, doesn't mean he has to make it happen for you. Just because he's all giving and generous doesn't mean he has to give you what you want. He's not a genie in a bottle. And I was thinking this on my drive to Riley's brother's house. I was thinking, Zach, I'll never drop you because you ignored your family to listen to our podcast. So I'm really happy. But what I was thinking, like we sometimes look at God as our genie, like, oh, just do all these things for me. And then the perspective I had is that we, like a genie does what we want. Like, because do they know what's best for us? I have no idea. But they just do what we tell them to do.
I don't know
right?
about genies.
Yeah. Right? But with God is that he does what he knows is best for us. Right? A genie does what we think is best for us. Like, oh, I want like 200 million. Like, just gives it to you, even though it's going to destroy you at some point. But God is like, well, you could get that like Hellcat, that fast car, but I know you're going to be like racing people. You probably die from it. So I'm not going to give that to you because I need you on earth a little bit longer. I have something bigger for you than a Hellcat, right? Those are like things that I was thinking was like, we tend to look at God like he has to do what I want. Like, and if not, then I'm disappointed in him. And there was an example that he gave is like other people look at that disappointment as like, oh, I'm going to get back at God. Like, I'm going to sin more because he didn't do what I wanted. Or I'm not going to read my Bible. I'm going to stop going to church because God did not give me the job I wanted. And that's like the wrong response to God not doing what he wants you for God to do for you. Like I think the right response is pursuing him more and saying, if this is not what you want for my life, then what do you want for my life? If this is not like the job that I need or like that's going to keep me for a long time, then what's the job that is going to like glorify you and help me grow closer to you? What's that thing that you want for me that I don't think I want for myself? What is your will and what is your what's the gift that you have for me that like what is that? So we seek God in those moments where like, yeah, I know you didn't give me that job, but what do you want me to do? Like help me understand and help me like know these things. Help me like get what you want for my life. Like what does that look like? And I'm not saying we can't complain when God doesn't give us. We're humans, right? We have feelings, and those feelings are gonna get hurt. But as Ben Shapiro said, facts do not care about your feelings. But this is God. God cares about your feelings, and I think there's great people in the Bible where like servants of the Lord that were disappointed that God did not do what He wanted them to do, but they did not say, "Well, God, you know what? I'm not gonna do what you want." Like they're saying, "God, I trust you, and I know you have bigger plans for my life, and I'm gonna keep following you because I know you have like something better and bigger for my life." So for us, then what does that like? What's something that we've prayed for that's like God was like, maybe not. God was like, yeah, you're an idiot. I'm not gonna give you that. I know it's gonna kill you or destroy your life. So I want you closer to me as close as possible to me. So I'm gonna give you something better. I'm not gonna give you that thing when you want it right now. I'm gonna keep it for future. Like, what is something in our life that God has like delayed, not giving us, or giving us something better than we thought we wanted?
The wife.
You have a wife? Dang, I guess that's a wife. I thought we were all single. Okay, you want to talk more about that? What do you
No,
mean?
just like praying for like a wife or something, and then we're all single here, so
Okay. Okay, slow down.
The first times it didn't hurt, but the more it happens, it's like,
the more you express it, it hurts. So,
well, this isn't about me, but I remember
that's
the
a
first.
that's a very classic Riley line. It's not about me, but I remember. It's like that was defeats the whole point. But yeah, go ahead.
But I remember a scenario with actually the Henleys when, like, months ago when we had a Bible study at my house and a bunch of different families were over and stuff, and they were talking about how they're wanting to buy a house, and like they almost had the house, they were in escrow or something, and then it fell through, and my mom just simply said, well, maybe it's not God's plan and he has something better for you. And Amanda was like, well, how do we know that? Like, she was struggling with the thought of, is it a choice that I made, a choice that me and my family made, or is it God's decision in this? And it's hard to see how those things correlate, but they were a really good example, and they trusted in God throughout the whole situation. And through that, ultimately, God like provided a house for them. So their faith didn't waver through their circumstances, even though there were some questions about what was going on.
kind of piggybacking off like what Feston said, like we should really just like pray to make sure like the desires of our heart or like whatever we're like chasing after is really come from God and not just like, cause like you could want the $200 million, but like, is that just like you being greedy or?
Something that like I was just thinking about is like, for me, like I like kind of like want to live to a certain plan, or like I have this like image of like what I want for my life, and then like especially within this last year, like I've been like I had my ACL snap and then my meniscus was torn and stuff, but like ultimately we can plan this all the way, like we could plan something for our life, but mainly the Lord will direct our steps. And I think as us like being Christians, like being able to take that into account and just be like, okay, like even though this sucks in the moment and just like I don't know what's going on, like it's good to know like God's got our back no matter what we're going through.
Yeah, so I think like as we're growing, like I think more of like not being disappointed in like God not doing what you wanted. I think it's trusting Him more instead of like something I've heard like Pastor Kirk say is like, do not go with your plan and then like say, God, please follow me. It's more of like have your plan, submit it to God, but then say, God, I want to follow you, right? And He is not gonna check every box on your list, and He doesn't have to because He's God. He knows everything. But I think you have to like say, like the Bible says, like follow God, and all these things shall be added to you. It's like you say, God, I'm following you no matter what. No matter if you check on my list or like you tick all the boxes I want, I just want to follow you and have that relationship with you. And I think that's something that was being talked about tonight at the Wyoming like youth recap. It's like wanting that relationship with God more than just like wanting what God has. It's like we want that relationship with God. And then on the Wyoming thing, three of you guys went to Wyoming. Three of you guys went to Wyoming. So let's talk about a little bit what that was.
But yeah.
Do you
All
want to
right.
explain what Wyoming is for people that don't know what Wyoming is?
Do you want to explain what Wyoming
We can
is?
have Riley.
Isaiah can if he wants.
Yeah, I think you should do it because Riley's going to take the mic and then run with it. So I want you to
and
do
I'm never
it first.
gonna give it back.
Yeah.
So Wyoming is a thing.
State.
It is a state. Yeah, you're correct. It's a state in America that our youth group goes to every year as a youth retreat, and it's in Laramie. It's a ranch that our pastor has that has a lot of bison on it, and we go there for 10 days without electronics, and just
Riley took his phone.
Riley take his phone. I took my phone too.
bad
but
influence.
We're there for 10 days just learning about God and doing your ranch work, and yeah, it's great.
Growing your hair out. It's all right. So I think since Isaiah hasn't said much,
Yeah.
I'm gonna put him
it's
on the
his turn.
spot. Tell us, how was Wyoming?
It was really great. I got really sick and died. But yeah, it was great.
Got raised.
I got raised and then died again. But
How many days?
I was sick for like 5 days while we were over
So
there.
you were dead for 5 days.
We were there for 10 days and I was sick for 5.
So what you're telling me is like you died more days than Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Whoa. Oh, that is so cool, dude.
But it was nice. I had a bunch of kids taking care of me, so.
Sounds like child labor to me. It's like, oh, I'm sick. Take care of me right now. Or else you're not in my small group.
And Nate said I'm his favorite, so I was doing something right.
He's gonna hold on to that for like the rest of his life. That Nate said.
I mean, you do the same thing.
And
too.
Levi said I've got better aesthetic than you, Riley, so.
Oh. If Levi said that?
Levi
Okay.
said that. He told Quincy that.
You know what? I
Ooh.
agreed. Okay. I can be honest with
Why
myself.
do you sound so hurt right now?
You're just crying, man.
I was laughing.
All right. So that's Isaiah. He was dead for 5 days. He's back to life. We're glad to have you
No,
back.
it was really cool to see the kids. Like, I think this year I took a step back from a lot of stuff, just kind of
Is
watching.
that because you were sick or?
Well, that too, but even before I was sick. But just watching the kids come around each other and us not having to, like, tell them, like, hey, go pray for that person over there or go hang out with that kid. Like, they had the eyes already to see that that person needs prayer, that person's lonely. And, I don't know, it was really cool and inspiring to see them be there for each other.
All right. Before we go to Riley, because I know he's dying to talk about Wyoming, so I'll skip him for my own happiness. I'll go to Gavin. Tell us how Wyoming was.
It was really good. Yeah, it was third time I've gone, but like the first time as a Christian, so it was like a really different experience than the past times.
All right. The man, the myth. I'll stop there. He's not the legend yet.
Wyoming was really cool this year. I didn't go last year. Like Gavin said, we've gone 3 times. And the first year I went as just a student. I was a senior that year. Second year I didn't go. And then this year, coming as a leader was a super cool experience.
I think the word is helper.
It's debatable.
They call us leaders, okay?
It's interchangeable. I'm on the leaders chat, so I'll hold on to
I don't think they'll change the topic to you, youth leaders and helpers.
It's not the leaders and helpers. It's the
Oh.
leaders.
I
My
just
mom's
wanted
on
to
there.
point.
She's a
just-
helper.
I just wanted
Hey,
to
at least
point
we're
that
still
out.
youth leaders.
Oh no, your mom's
Okay.
the leader.
Okay, so
Yeah.
don't get personal. Oh, don't get personal. Go ahead.
We could dive into that
Okay,
later.
we don't need to.
Patreon or something. But
Campfire after dark.
This is getting dark. All right, go ahead, Riley.
yeah, this year being there, what Isaiah said, I was so impressed and like proud of the boys. Proud of the boys too. Okay, you might have to edit this out. Just edit that out. I'm gonna restart because I can't.
Leave it in there,
No,
dude.
I can't deal with Feston's
It's
facial
got to be
expressions.
raw. Just
Dude, if
everything.
this-
I'm just gonna look at the duct tape chair.
All right, please.
talk.
Okay, can I say something before you say? Please, everybody, text Isaiah and tell him to encourage him to make this a video podcast because it's fun. Just like what happens in our faces as we talk into these mics. So
I
please,
say the word proud and Feston's eyebrows go up.
so please, everybody, text Isaiah. Tell him that we need a video segment of this whole thing. So he's the producer. He's the
Once you
editor.
start paying me, I will.
Okay. Nobody's paying.
I
you
have
here.
your $6. Wait,
I have your $6.
I don't have my wallet.
Wow, boss. Go ahead.
Okay.
Edit that
Anyway,
out.
so it was really cool to be there as a leader. It's pretty different, but the boys, like getting to talk with them, and like in Wyoming, you kind of just, if you want to learn about someone, you just say, hey, want to go on a walk? And so you just kind of walk around and you just talk about some deeper things with them. And then, what Isaiah said too, seeing them come around each other when one is struggling, one has something going on in their lives, and we didn't even really need them or need to tell them to pray for each other. God was already moving in their hearts to show love towards each other, and so that was really encouraging to see.
Since it's not a video thing, we'll tell you everybody's laughing
This
because
is
Riley
we got
said
the
we
game.
didn't really need them, the kids, to be there. But that's why. That's why everybody's laughing. But yeah,
Yeah, so God was already moving in their hearts, and it shows a lot of maturity in their faith and growth to be open to what God is doing. And a lot of times too, we feel that God is moving, but it's a different thing to act out upon that. So I was super stoked to see their growth, and then I was really thankful too to be a part of it. And I can see God using me and God using the other leaders as such a amazing impact on the kids. And we just all came with the same goal to love on them and to just show them that there's people that love them, but more importantly, there's a God that loves them. And we want to bring them to Jesus's feet with whatever they're experiencing and just lay it there and trust in him and trust that he is going to lead them through the darkness in their lives. And it was such a fun time too, of playing volleyball, playing cards, having that community and fellowship with each other. In Wyoming, there's relationships that deepen, and then there's also a lot of relationships that just grow there too. Where I was thinking about man, I never really knew this person that well, but through these 10 days, it's been really awesome to have fun with them, to talk with them, laugh with them. And I was super stoked on that, and just hoping and praying that what God has done in these kids' lives, that when they come back home to normal life, that it doesn't just stifle out, but God continues to grow, or that their faith continues to grow in God and the relationships that they've made, because we see each other 24/7 every day, and the relationships that they made, that they don't put those aside and forget about them, but that those relationships too can become stronger and stronger with the goal of encouraging each other to follow Jesus and to serve him.
Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, good job, buddy.
There's a lot of laughs and a lot of giggles, but I made it through.
Okay. So since we're talking about experiences at camps and stuff like that, I think that's a good segue into mountaintop experiences and what that's like. So I was thinking about this, this is my first time hearing the term mountaintop experience, but I don't think my experience was at the top of the mountain. It was in the valley in Wyoming when I lived there. It was just me, Ben, and Katie, and sometimes they would leave to go to Iowa because Ben's dad was sick. So I would be the only one at the ranch and riding the 4-wheelers, just falling down sometimes in the snow and doing crazy stuff because I was just there alone by myself. Well, alone by myself. I don't know if that's all right. English. Let's slow down. Okay, so but for me, I think was I think the mountain experience is just more the time you felt close to God and that you enjoyed those moments. I think for me it was waking up, having a routine of I'm gonna read my Bible and then go feed the bison and then go back inside, relax, read a book. And I think one thing that really helped me in my relationship with God was a book by that Mike gave me. Actually, he gave it to me, I think it was on my birthday, in 2022, but I didn't read it until 2023 because I just listen to books more than read them. Because I'm kind of I read 2 sentences, my eyes are already closed and I'm falling asleep. So, but I read this book. It was it's called In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day. It's about Benaiah. If you don't know Benaiah, it's the baddest dude ever. You hear the American Sniper, but this guy, like the gist of it is like he sees this lion, and he's like, instead of running away from him, he's like, dude, I'm gonna catch you and I'm gonna kill you. Like that is like, and it's snowing. They're in a pit. It's not like the next thing you see, like if that was a movie, like someone goes down in the pit with the lion, like, and then like music stops, everything stops, and then you just hear his head pop out, like, oh, dude, I did it, I killed it. And that was like, not for me. It wasn't like more of like, it was more of like trusting God and jumping at experiences that it's given you. Like, I want you to experience this. I want you to walk through this door, and then being able to say, God, I trust you. And I'm gonna walk through that door because I know you're with me, and I am going to be able to like accomplish this thing because I know you've given me the skill, you've given me the tools and the people around me to help me accomplish this. And that's like that's what relationship with God is like. He's like with you, and then He gives you friends and people that help you like walk through those battles with you. And that was important to me. And then, like another mountaintop experience is that like I've had like lows in my moments, and God has placed people in my life that are like have helped me through those moments and like showed me like how lovely and how loving God is. And those are like, to me, those are like little battles that I like go through, and then I come out like, oh, dude, God is so rad. Oh, he's the coolest guy ever. But like I come out of those things and I'm like, wow, God really did that for me. God really loved me through all this, even though I was far from Him. He was chasing me and He wanted to be closer to me than ever. Like those are the moments He's seeking me out. Like, hey, like I want to be with you, even I know that you're going through all these things. You're ashamed of what you've done, but I want to be around you. I'm not ashamed to be your God. I'm not ashamed to be your father. I want to be around you. I'm not ashamed to be a friend. I want to be there for you. And I think to me, those are like mountaintop experiences where I experience Him more in my laws, and I experience His love to me in my laws and those moments. Because I think when you're like in a spiritual high, it's kind of hard to acknowledge that God is doing it for you. It's just like, oh, dude, look at me. I'm so smart. Oh, look at me.
Everything's going right.
My hair is so good. Oh, look at me. My muscles are helping me through these things. Yeah, so it's like moments like those for me, those are like mountaintop experiences. And I'm curious to hear what your guys' mountaintop experiences are. I live with Riley, so I kind of know his mountaintop experiences. So I'm like, I want him to.
Lows.
I want him to go last, because you know what Riley does. You just run with it, and then I'll hear about it on our way home. And then when we got home, it's like, dude, did you remember what I said on the podcast? So I want someone else to go first, and then I want Riley to be last, and then when Riley goes, then we're gonna dive into Gavin's story and what that looked like for him through the whole journey for him. So, yeah, the floor is yours, Isaiah, Xander, and Gavin.
I can go first.
Ooh.
So, I think my mountaintop experience where I really met God for the first time was the first year we went to Wyoming. I was a student. It was my senior year, and I think you guys were actually all there.
Yeah, all of us.
Yeah, we were all there. All as students except Feston. But
That was your leader.
When you were.
when you were.
Okay.
Now you're not anymore.
Okay. Let's just move on. Continue.
But we had this one worship night where, like, everybody was crying. Like, it was crazy. Like, I've never felt the presence of God, like, so thick in a room before, where it was, I don't know, it was crazy. But it was, like, the first time where it was like, wow, there's no doubt in my mind that God is real. Like, I can feel Him. Like, there wasn't really anything He was saying. It was more just, He's there, and I could feel His presence. I don't know, it was pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Sound more Canadian.
I don't know. I'm kind of like new to Christianity, so it's kind of weird because I don't really like have any like mountaintop experiences besides like, you know, like my baptism and like first coming to God and stuff. It's like the first year at camp, guys there during that worship night, but I kind of just like wrote it off as being like chemical and stuff. Like it's just like empathy. That's why we were all crying. But I don't know. I wouldn't really say I have a mountaintop experience. I'm kind of just like I carried like the spiritual high for a couple months, and it kind of started to like dip. And like this year at camp, I didn't really get to like a high. It was just kind of felt like I was like halfway up the mountain.
I'd say for like a spiritual high, definitely hit me hard in the first year of Wyoming. Just like leading up, like I'd say, like it was coming to that like last year, like when I was in high school, and like my faith was like the year before it was pretty strong. Like I'd say like that's whenever like my faith started to become my own, and then like it went out through the year, it was pretty strong, and then like coming up into Wyoming, like I like kind of had a lot of doubts in me, and like I wasn't sure like who God called me, or just like I didn't know what God really thought of me. And then I think that's whenever God like he like chose to show up in that time, and it was like super overwhelming for me, because I was like you see me like not just like you see me as your son, you would fight for me, you would send your son for me. And I think after seeing that, or like he like it like really broke me for who he was, and I would say that was a pretty high for me. And then I'd say like yeah, it's not been easy after that, but it's like I personally feel like he takes me through like a valley. Like he'll take me through this high mountaintop, and then sometimes he'll take me through a valley, and it's a lot of time it's not necessarily like crazy, like okay, like I'm debating my faith right now, but it's more like why are you taking me through this right now? And yeah, I think that's my experience with like a mountain high experience with God.
All right. I was about to move on to Gavin. I forgot you were actually here, so go ahead.
So very similar to Isaiah and Xander, the first year of Wyoming, and seeing how powerful God was in all of our hearts, that was foundational to my faith in that transition from high school to like figuring out what I want to do in my life. And so that was really awesome to have that experience, but not just leave it as an experience, but to take from that experience that God is real and that he loves me and that he is worthy to be followed. And then I've also had some, like, I don't know if I would call them mountaintop experiences, but just some times where I felt really close to God when I was sad, like when I had grief in my heart, when I had questions, and that was through worship and prayer, just literally just singing out to God and feeling him there with me, like he was right there. And same with praying too. And it doesn't happen a lot where I feel like that feeling of being super close to God, but God is always consistent in my life, and I can always see that he's there and that he loves me. There's some situations where it's just kind of different and it seems special, and I hold on to those, but those aren't the foundation of my faith. The foundation of my faith is that God made me, God made everyone, God made the earth at the beginning. We as humans, we chose to sin. We chose to just slap God in the face and say, I don't need you, I can do it my own way. And throughout all of that, he still loves us, and he had a plan on how to bring us back to him. What Xander said, he sent his son to die for us for only 3 days, but it's still enough. And he rose.
Isaiah died for 5 days.
But he rose from the dead. He defeated death. He came back. He appeared to his disciples. He appeared to a bunch of other eyewitnesses. He gave us his Holy Spirit. That's how the early church started. And throughout all of history, there's been people trying to destroy the Bible, trying to destroy God's work, but he stays the same. He's still the same yesterday, today, and forever. So God's goodness and his word is going to carry throughout all of history, even when time ends, when the world ends, through everything. And that's my hope. And I've seen God move personally in my life. I've seen him move in other people's lives, and I've seen the truth in the Bible. And even if I don't understand everything in the Bible, I'm going to still accept it in my heart as God's word, and it is truth because of what I've seen God do.
All right. Thank you very much. So as we said in the beginning, we have a guest, and we just don't have him on just to be on. He has a story to tell, and we're excited to hear about the story. I've read a little bit of it, and I'm excited for you guys to hear Gavin's story. So, yeah, here's Gavin telling his story in his own words this time, not in Riley's words.
All right. Well, like my parents are Christian, and I think they did a pretty good job doing their best to raise us Christian. But about 7 or 8, I had some pretty bad things happen to me. It happened pretty consistently, around a year. And that led me to be really depressed, and I want to say I was demon possessed because it's not how demon possession is described in the Bible. I kind of always had a voice in my head just yelling at me to kill myself and stuff. So that went on for a while. And maybe when I was 10, got to the point where I tried to kill myself. And then I don't know, I didn't know how to tie a knot correctly. And then I kind of had someone talk to me because I kind of reached out. They kind of told me that life's hard for everyone. And, everyone kind of wants to kill themselves, and you just have to go through life and hold on to the good times and stuff. And they were just trying to help, but in my mind a switch kind of flipped. It was well, I can do it for you, if you don't want to. So then that led me to a pretty dark place for a minute. And then I got back into fighting for a little bit because it kind of helped get away some of the anger. It was I don't know, it's hard to describe. But then I got to the point where I did some drugs, just weed and stuff. And whenever I did those, the voice in my head would stop. So I really started to enjoy those. Which was the first time in 7 years. I didn't have a voice screaming at me to do something. So it kind of be the point where I'd wake up, I'd smoke, lunch, I'd smoke, 4 o'clock, I'd smoke, night, I'd smoke. So it's just every breathing moment. And then I started to get into shrooms and stuff. And then did it a couple times, and one of the times just kind of doing what you do. I was listening to jazz and stuff. And then I kind of had a vision of the world, and everyone kind of had a demon over them. And then I just kind of felt God's presence. I couldn't look up and see him. My head was kind of just locked. And then he said, go get them. And then the vision stopped. And then it happened on a Tuesday or Wednesday. And then by Sunday I was baptized. So
How long? So you said you're recently a Christian. So how long has that been?
I think it was November.
I'm not very good at math, so you're gonna have to help me out. How many months is that?
8.
Oh, thanks. You're homeschooled, right?
Yeah.
You graduated high school?
I did.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, can you what's that when you get that vision? What is your reaction when you you're high on shrooms, like you said, and then you get that vision, and then are you are you sober then, straight up sober, or are you still in shrooms and then processing what's just happened?
So I was really, really happy. So either I was sober and really, really happy, or I was on shrooms and really, really happy. I think I was still on shrooms because I ate a mango with the skin on it and everything.
We do that in Africa, so I don't think that's a big deal. But yeah, so and then how do you know this is the voice of God calling me? What's that moment of is this just a voice that's been in my head, or is this God's voice telling me I need to turn my life around?
I don't know. It just was like,
Is there like a distinction between the voices? Because you said you've had one in your like head for a long time, but then you get this voice and it's like, go get them. Like what? Like what's the distinction? What's the difference in the voices that you're like, maybe this is not the same voice. This is God telling me something different.
like most of the voices in my head sound the same. Like me in my head sounds the same, and that other voice sounded the same. It's just like really loud and angry. And then like the voice telling you to go get them was kind of the same, but for whatever reason, like my brain just kind of like knew it was God. For
Yeah, so like I think there's that talk of like the God-shaped hole in your heart. Like I think we all have that bit like longing and bit like wanting to belong to like something, and like you've described. So I want to know like what I'm interested in knowing is like, had you always been searching for God? Was it like were you looking out for him, like seeing your family? Because I know your sister like is in YWAM, your brother went to YWAM, and like you said, your parents like did the best they could to like raise you Christians. So did you have that like longing for like I want to know like what's different about my family and what's the difference in me, and or like seeing them as examples of like Christians, right? Because you look at them like they're different from what I do, like their actions are different to what I do. Like how was that like, and like what's that experience of like they do something differently but they're still loving me as their kid in the house, as my brother or my sister, like they still have the same love for me even though I'm doing my own thing.
yeah, so I thought they were all delusional. Then I tried for like a while, and like the second year at camp, I had like a really long talk with some of the leaders and some of the kids just about like Christianity, and like I was kind of like searching for it then, and then like I prayed to God like I want to follow you and stuff, like just show me that like you're real, and like help my unbelief. And then like it didn't happen, so then I just kind of was like, okay, like kind of wrote it off. And then I don't know, I didn't really like think about it for a while because my parents were trying to get me to be a Christian since I was like a little kid, you know, and, like it's kind of just like numb to like all the talks and stuff.
Now that you're a Christian, I mean, if you guys have questions, you can chime in too. Like, I know someone said, Festin, you talk a lot on the podcast. Yeah, I kind of have to. But, like, since you've been a Christian, what's something that you didn't know about God that you've realized, like, oh, wow, God is so, like, rad on this. Like, I didn't know this quality of him, like, that you've just discovered.
I feel like he's pretty open if you like look for it. You're like, I feel like if you're open to him, he'll be like open to you about like what he's doing and like trying to do. It's just like up to you to say yes.
Yeah, because a lot of people think that God is just like super strict and he just wants to rule over you, but really he just wants you to know him, and he wants you to follow him, whatever that means, whatever his plan is, and him, like you being open to him, whatever he wants to do, like God being open to you, sharing his plan with you if he does, or sometimes he just kind of leaves it a mystery and you have to have faith in following him.
So, yeah, so, like, you're 17 now, 16.
16.
So you're 16 now. So let's like, because I think we, like, for us as a group, like, when we talked about starting a podcast, people just thought we just come here and talk about, like, nonsense. But, like, I want you to speak to, like, if someone shares this episode to someone, like, that's, like, been in your shoes, what's something that you would have, like, what's something you can tell them about, like, your journey with, like, your life journey, and then to the point of meeting Christ, like, what's, like, an encouragement that you can give them, like, if they're searching, if they're not searching, but, like, what's something you can tell them that, like, encourages them or, like, makes them feel, like, loved, heard, and seen? Because, like, for you, I think you had parents that loved you. Like, they were Christians that they've been loving you throughout. And I think there's people that don't have parents and they're going through your shoes. They don't have good examples to look up to. What's, like, an advice or, like, a tip you can give them that's, like...
there's a lot more people like you than you think there is. It can be like a good and bad thing at times because you can feel like you're not unique, but like you are unique. It's just like everyone struggles with the same things, and it's just like they struggle with different things at a different level. So like everyone's had some like depressing thoughts and stuff. Some people struggle with lust more. Some people struggle with envy more. It's just like some people are gonna like struggle with those things on the same level as you. And like you're never gonna know how much you're loved and how you're seen. Like someone might look at you and think you're really cool, just never tell you because they don't have the confidence to tell you that. You're never gonna know how much people like you because they're gonna always like you more than you think they are.
Yeah. All right. Oh, man, that's so good. That's a good story to tell. I think like that's the point of our like podcast is to tell stories like this so that we can reach out. The stories can reach other people and people can see how great God is and like how like we just talked about how like God can do anything. But this is a story of like God calling you to himself and loving you through that process. And I think that's so good. All right, so to transition from that, just get a little bit to close out the episode. The question I want to ask you guys is that what is your pet peeve? Like one. I know Riley has like 50, but I just want one.
Bested.
Yeah.
People chewing loud.
Okay, so people
Make
cheering
me want
loud.
to kill them.
No, yeah, people smacking when they eat.
Is that yours or are you just like banking on Isaiah? And then you have
No,
another one.
I was gonna say that
Okay.
already.
Xander, pet peeve?
It's okay. You can see black people.
Okay.
No.
Isaiah is back.
Xander's like,
Yeah.
how do I say this?
Man, I don't know.
Sanders doesn't have any pet peeves.
I know,
He's
he's
perfect.
so good.
No, I'm not.
You're not?
No.
Mind blown.
Maybe like when they're like when people are talking, like it's not like bad. I know like oh you shouldn't have done that, but it's like if like someone's talking and there's like spit flying out of their mouth, that's kind of like whoa, dude.
What if there's like smacking, talking, and like the food is getting out of their mouth
They're
and
not
hitting
leaving
you?
the table alive.
Okay, Isaiah, slow down. Gavin, any pet peeve? You can like bring out your siblings. You can talk about
You
them.
can call out Riley by name. It's okay.
Yeah, you can say Logan, Sydney. We really don't mind. We'll put it in there.
When people like call out like the most random things that I do, like I'll chew on like a straw or something, and like someone will like call me out for being weird on that. And it's like
You don't need to say that to someone. No, just let them be.
it's like
Let them eat
Just
the
leave me
straw.
alone.
Let them eat
Yeah.
the straw.
So you just want people to leave you alone.
Yeah.
Xander doesn't like people talking and then spit coming out of their mouth. Like, dude, I had this thing. I had a burger. It's like you see the whole burger coming out of the mouth. The little hair boys just smacking and eating with the mouth open. Pet peeve of mine. I thought about this today and I was like, you know, like for me, maybe you guys don't get this, but like when I'm hanging out with someone and then they use me as like a lesson, like let's say I go to someone's house, the kids are not eating their food. It's like, you know where Feston's from? Kids don't get food. It's like, you didn't have to use that because I know you don't use that every day in your house as an example. Like, you're using that because I'm here. Like, you really, like, it's good to be an example, but that one is like, can you, like, find a different example to use? And then, before we close, shout out to the people in,
Idaho?
Idaho. Yeah, the
Okay.
Idaho girls, the people, listeners from Idaho. Shout out to you. And then shout out to everyone that's been downloading our episodes. We have people from America. We haven't made it to Asia yet, but we're in America. And
Are we in Europe?
not yet.
France?
Well, we'll get to France because Isaiah's here. But we're in America. We're in Africa. And thank you guys for downloading and supporting us. Please do the same thing you've always been doing. Share this one if you haven't shared it with anyone. We want people to hear Gavin's story, but we also want people to hear what Riley had to say because he loves that. And please, like, if you're not following our podcast, follow us on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, or wherever you get. If you don't,
Instagram.
yeah, Instagram too, because Riley's
a lot of work in there.
Riley's putting a lot of work in there. He gets home from work, and that's like. You just see him smiling. I'm about to record something for the podcast. He wants to be Insta famous. But yeah, give us a follow, rate the show, write a review on Apple Podcasts. And yeah, we hope to see you in the next one.
I wonder who gave us the constructive criticism. Don't do drugs. So
yeah, I
who
think
was
I
that?
know who
if
that
was
is.
you, let us know, and we can give you a shout out for free.
I think I know who that was, but I'm not gonna say who it was. Yeah, so yeah, we're not gonna do drugs. We'll try to stay away from drugs, as you have heard from Gavin. We'll try to stay away from those moments. But it was a good moment for him because he met God. But we don't wanna meet God in those circumstances. But yeah, follow the show. Thanks for people that are sharing on Facebook and sharing with other people.
Facebook.
Yeah,
How old are we?
I put in the work, dude.
Yeah.
I'm 24. You know, I have Facebook.
I'm Instagram. He's Facebook.
Yeah, so yeah, thanks for all the love, all the support. Also, before we leave, I just want to do this one in this episode before I leave. On this podcast, to all the hosts, Gavin minus Gavin, me and Zed don't have big sisters. Riley and Zan have big sisters.
Oh boy.
And we're glad that you changed your heart on our show. We know you doubted us a little bit, but we're happy that you've changed your heart
Some support.
and you've supported us. We really appreciate that. I know it was killing Riley that his sister doubted him, but I think he's back to reality now, and the sister loves the show. Same with Xander too. His sister loves the show. We know the bigger sister, Victoria, she's following us and she supports us. But we're talking about Frankie and Quincy here. So yeah, shout out to you girls.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for your support.
Yep.
We hope you hear this one, and maybe one day we'll have you on the show and we'll have a face-to-face to hash these things out. Thank you very much. See you on the next one. Bye.